Hi everyone, it's Brian here. And if I'm looking a bit frustrated, it's because I am. Because I have just spent ages setting up the camera, making sure the composition behind me was right, just getting the lighting perfect, everything was good, and then discovered that I didn't have it on video mode, I had it on photo mode. And when I switched it to video mode, of course, I got a hideous close-up all of a sudden, and the lighting was off, and I had to do it all again. But we take a deep breath and we move on. Also, I don't know why I'm bothering, because I look pretty casual today, because I am casual today, because I've just figured out I was going to do this video later, and I was going to shave, and I was going to put on my video making clothes. And not that I actually have video making clothes, I'm just making this sound grander than it really is. But I realised that I wasn't going to be able to do it later because I've got so many other things that I need to do today, and as soon as I start them I know what's going to happen. I'm going to go down that rabbit hole of housework and chores and so on, and I won't come back out again until, actually I have got something I have got to do later, and that's a video conference call a bit later on, so I've got to be prepared for that. And yeah, so I thought, you know what, let's blow off the housework and let's do the video to start with, and then if I get to the housework later, that's fine. I will get to the housework later. It needs to be done. It needs to be done. So what have I got to tell you? First of all, yes, thank you all very much. Those of you who messaged me, I had a lovely holiday in Sweden. It was really nice. It was relaxing. It was actually quite active because we did loads and loads of walking. I got one of those apps that you put on your phone to work out how many paces that you do in a day or how many steps you do in a day. And most days, we walked close to 20,000 steps each day. On one of those occasions, because we were on an island and there was only one public convenience on the island, as I discovered when we got to the other side of the island to catch the ferry back, and had to wait for an hour, but discovered that there was no WC there, and had to walk to the other side of the island to make use of the facilities. So that upped my step count considerably that day, and I only just made the ferry. While I was there, by the way, I was reminded of the Yolanda Tarot, which of course was originally known as the Swedish Witch Tarot, and I didn't actually manage to find a copy of it there. I bought it after I got back. I ordered it online while I was there, and it arrived after I got back. But the reason I thought of it was because I was in Sweden, and I've always loved the Swedish Witch Tarot, and so the purpose of today's video mainly is to do a walkthrough and first impressions of the Jolanda, or Yolanda, I don't quite know how you say it, Yolanda I think, Tarot. But first of all, maybe a couple of updates. Thank you to all of you who've been participating in my latest tag, which is 7 life purpose questions. Brilliant VRs already. I've really enjoyed looking at them. I managed to see some of them while I was away because we did have limited Wi-Fi access, and I've watched the rest since I've got back. If you've done one, by the way, and I haven't commented on your video, it means that I haven't seen it. So please, 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 if you've done one and I haven't said anything, it's probably because I haven't been able to find it. So, you know, drop me a comment under this video and let me know you've made one, and I'll make sure to look at it. As usual with your VRs, the responses have just been fantastic, and I'm learning a lot. It's just absolutely a privilege to see these light bulbs going off in people's minds as they answer the questions. The questions were designed to be empowering questions, and I actually haven't said very much and didn't say very much in the first video about why I was asking those specific questions, why I designed them in the way that I did and in the sequence that I did. And you know, it's not rocket science. I know that some of you will have figured this all out. But I am going to say a bit more about that in a future video. In fact, what I'll do in the draw video, and I should also say that I'll do that, well, we'll run this tag until the end of the month. I know it's been a bit shorter than, has it been a bit shorter than? Yeah, it's been a bit shorter than, I think I did it on April the 10th or something, didn't I? So, is that right? Yes, that sounds about right. So it's a bit shorter than usual for these tags. Usually I give a month, but let's do it to the end of this month, and I'll do the draw sometime after that. And in the draw video, remember there are 3 prizes, three books that I'm giving away, all of the same book, my book, which I'm going to sign. And in that same video, I will also say a little bit more about the questions, and specifically about how the answers that you've come up with in this tag can then be used to move things forward. So hopefully that'll be helpful. just as a little preview, I can tell you that it's my experience when I've been coaching people around issues of career purpose and life purpose, which is what this tag's about, obviously, that for the most part, almost always, people are far closer to their life purpose. Like, that's a very grand title, but you know, their life purpose, their job purpose, their dream job, their dream career, their mission in life, however you want to describe it, they're a lot closer to it than they think they are. And these questions are designed to get people to the awareness of that, and some of you are getting there already, I can see, and the next video I hope will help just move things a little bit further forward. So it's a bit like going through the process of doing this tag, if you want to participate fully, is a bit like having a coaching session. So you're asked empowering questions, you come up with the answers, and then we use those answers to set out some actions and ways forward. So I'm looking forward to doing that video. I'm not going to say much more about that now because I don't want to over prompt things. I didn't want to say too much about what the questions were designed for, because I don't want people second guessing all of that. I want them to just dip into the questions, sink into the questions, and let the questions bring your awareness to the fore, and that's definitely happening in the VRs that I've seen. So more on that anon, and we'll do the draw for the 3 signed copies of my book, which I don't have to hand, otherwise I'd wave it in your faces. Okay, the Yolanda Tarot. So, first of all, I want to tell you that Yolanda Tarot was originally published as the Swedish Witch Tarot, and it's the creation of a Swedish witch called Rosie Bjorkman, also known as Yolanda III, who is a self-proclaimed witch and seeress who seems really cool. She lives in a tower somewhere in Sweden, which she has converted into a kind of witch's tower, and she lives there with other witches, and she does all kinds of talks and lectures on witchcraft and I guess a kind of shamanism and so on, and seems to be really, really fascinating. Now, when I first started looking into getting this tarot, I tried to find some information, some more information about the tarot. It does come with a little white book. There is a book that she published in Swedish called The Art of Magic, I believe, and on her website it says that that book is being prepared in English, but I don't know how long ago that update went onto the website, so I'm not sure whether that's going to still be the case, or maybe that idea has been shelved. So I've emailed her, and I've also commented on one of her YouTube videos, because to my great pleasure I've discovered that she has only just, like within the last couple of weeks, set up her own YouTube channel. And even better, what she seems to be doing in the videos that she's posting, which are about life in the tower, this witch's tower, and they're into the videos are in Swedish but with English subtitles, so which is great for me because I can understand them. What she seemed to be doing is in each video is taking a different major arcana card from the Yolanda Tarot and talking about using that as the prompt for the video and talking a bit about it. I'm not sure how much detail she's going into in each card in terms of the symbolism, but certainly they're referred to, so that's very interesting. The artist of the Yolanda Tarot is Hans Arnold. Now, I want to just show you something, because look at the side of this book. Now, I know that that's going to be blurred, but this implies, does it not, that the cards are borderless? Well, unfortunately, the cards are not borderless. This is a bit blurred. Let me just show you on my iPad. This, oh dear, you're going to get a reflection. This is the borders they have, a kind of a purple border all the way around, and a bit deeper at the bottom, and you've got the number at the top and the name at the bottom, and then at the side, on this side, you've got the name of the card in different languages. Originally, the Swedish Witch Tarot looked like this. In Swedish, of course, but with a kind of a grey border. Now you'll notice, make sure I can go the right way, yeah, you'll notice, well, a couple of things to point out. One is in the Swedish Witch Tarot, and obviously these are not really great comparisons because this is a better quality scan than this one, but what you can see, and it does seem to be the case, that in the reissued Yolanda Tarot, the colour seems to be a bit more, the colour of the image seems to be a bit more vibrant, and it's a bit more muted in the Swedish Witch Tarot. I think I actually prefer this. But the Swedish Witch Tarot, if you notice here, the little old crocodile seems to have his nose or the bottom of his chin just taken off, but in the Yolanda Tarot he doesn't. So you get a bit more of the image in the Yolanda Tarot, but with slightly different colouring. But you also get these borders, and I'm not a fan of those borders. They're not as bad as the borders in the Spiral Tarot, but they still, to my mind, are a bit obtrusive. And I think US Games, if you're listening, if you reissued this deck borderless as it is here, or maybe with just a bottom border with the name of the card, that would be really fantastic. Incidentally, have you seen that US Games have announced that they are re-releasing in May the Gill Tarot? So I'm very excited about that. So I'm looking forward to that one. Now, on YouTube, I have seen some people have trimmed the Yolanda Tarot and it looks fantastic. However, as you'll see when we go through the cards, in my opinion, unless you're already very familiar with the deck, it's not always obvious which card relates to, which card you're looking at, based on the image. So what I have done is I have partially trimmed the cards, and I might go all the way with these, but at the moment what I've done is I've taken off the side borders and I have kept the top and the bottom and trimmed the bottom a little bit so that you see the image. So let's just give you a bit of an indication. There is the full. And I think that looks okay, but it would look even better with no borders. It looks better than it did, to my mind. Slight problem is, it's not really a problem, you lose some of the image on the other side. You get the white at the other side. Obviously it had a white border all the way around before, and now you get this slightly lopsided image. If you're really precious about the backs of your cards, then you might want to look into a different method of doing this, but I'm not. So anyway, that is the full, and one of the things that I have seen online is people comment that this is a Rider-Waite based deck, and I think that's partly because the meanings given in the little white book are quite similar to the Rider-Waite. Let me just see if I can adjust it. That might be a bit better. Is that better for seeing? No, that's worse, isn't it? No. Let's get the volume, the volume of light down. That's probably better. However, I think the meanings in the LWB are quite Rider-Waitey, but I actually think that this is quite a Thoth-based deck, and you'll see why in some of the cards I'm about to show you. And but it's also its own thing, because look at this. In what tarot system does the magician have a shield that is the shape of an elephant's head and a little helpful monkey standing there helping? So this is very much a deck in its own right, and I would love to get the book that she wrote about tarot and magic, because I imagine that it will say a lot of things about why certain symbolism has been chosen. So I just love the images in this deck. I think they are really delightfully whimsical, rich with symbolism. Do include nudity if that's a problem for you. It's not for me. And they have got recognisable imagery. So here we have the emperor. You see the mountain. You see the cross on his crown indicates 4. You've got the ram's heads, etc. You've got the shield of the eagle. Blah 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 blah. And you've got a panda. So I'm not quite sure what that's about, but I love it nonetheless. The other thing about this deck that I really like is, although the images are whimsical, they don't come across to me at all as twee. And actually, there are some of the cards that are actually quite dark cards, but there's still something about them that to me just is very approachable and inviting. So I really like it. Incidentally, now here's the Chariot. You know that the Chariot is one of my favourite cards, and this is a lovely Chariot card. It also reminds me to tell you one of the other reasons for not trimming away the names. In fact, I don't know. No, we'll wait until we get to it. There's another card, and you'll see, if I remember when we get to it, I'll point it out to you, because I think if you took this other card and trimmed away the name and didn't know what it was, there would be a real chance that you could mistake it for the Chariot in a reading. So, Justice. So again, here we have Justice as 8, so clearly not picking up on the Rider-Waite tradition there. Look at this Hermit card. I love the Hermit card in this deck. You see this, lots of animal imagery in this, and the spider appears quite often. And there we have Cerberus, the 3-headed dog. Wheel of Fortune. Now here is a very Thoth looking Strength card. Do you know what you think? It looks very much like this Thoth Lust card. Is it Lust? Yes, it's Lust. Much more like that than it looks like the Rider-Waite. So yeah. Hangman. Now of course here is one of the dark cards, Death. And I'm not going to say that this looks entirely inviting, but there's still something about it that's just imposing but not threatening in the way that death can sometimes be. Temperance. Lovely. And again, you know, we have the devil, cheeky looking devil here. The Tower, the spider has returned. And see, even Callie at the bottom is looking cheerful. So I don't think this kind of takes away from the power of the images. I just think it gives you a kind of something inviting about it that you just don't get in some decks, and some decks that try to be warm and a bit less scary overshoot the runway and head into tweeness, and I think this just doesn't. Even though the star has got a polar bear leaning on her head. That's how I choose to read it. I mean, I suppose you could read this as she's wearing a polar bear cloak, which I don't like very much. But I'm going to see this as we have a buck-toothed polar bear leaning on the star's head because he is her friend. And we have, is that the, I don't think they are frogs. I was going to say we have Paul McCartney's Frog Chorus, but we don't. We have other frogs. Just checking for wasps. Wasp bastards. So, the moon. That is very definitely a moon card. The sun. Who doesn't need a good moose on their sun card? Judgment, you know, again, something cheerful about it, but also very powerful. The world. Okay, so we've done the majors. So, let's go into let me just scoop these up and get them out of the way, and we'll go into the minors. The other thing I should show you here is the little white book. Very basic, comes in different languages, gives normal position meanings, reverse position meanings. It doesn't give any information about the choice of symbolism, which is unfortunate. It would have been nice if it did, but it's only a little white book, which is why we need the other book. So hopefully that will be available in English. So on to swords. And I'm just going to whiz through these really. I'm not going to say very much until something particularly strikes me. Now this isn't it. This is not the card I was referring to, but isn't there something there that's a bit reminiscent of the Chariot in the Rider-Waite? It's the canopy and the, I've got it up on my wall, and the stars of course and everything on the canopy, but it's not, it's the Four of Swords. Five of Swords, I'm hearing a buzzing that either means a lawnmower in the distance or it means we have got a wasp nest in the attic. I know we have. We've seen evidence of this. I might have to dive for cover any minute. Now, look at this. Six of Swords, one of my favourite cards in any tarot deck. I've talked about it before. And look, it has got a witch and a broomstick, which is always a good thing. It's a bit like in the Tarot of the Crone. The Chariot in the Tarot of the Crone is a witch and a broomstick. I love it. And then we have a Seven of Swords with a cat looking not very happy. I wouldn't be very happy if two naked people were sitting on my head, but there you go. Well, I suppose it would depend who they were. Eight of Swords. Wow. You would not want to mess with those bees. Are they bees? They're wasps. They're wasp bastards. See, they get everywhere. Nine of Swords. Interesting. That kind of looks a bit more like the Three of Swords in some decks, doesn't it? Ten of Swords. And onto the courts. So we have the Page of Swords. Rather Viking looking page. Now again, this is not the one that I was referring to, but again, that could be the Chariot, could it not? Kind of, apart from having a sword rather than a wand. That's the Knight of Swords. And the Queen of Swords. That's a lovely card. I'm sure that fur coat is fake. She looks far too nice to be wearing a real fur coat. King of Swords. Okay. Ace of Cups. Very nice. So there's the two. I mean, some of these, you know, obviously relate, or seem to relate. Excuse me, I'll take a sip of coffee. Cheers, everyone. Seem to relate to traditional meanings, and even are reminiscent of some Rider-Waite images, but some just really are not. Three of Cups. Four of Cups. If you see any wasp buzzing around my head, warn me, won't you? Five of Cups. And lots of eyes. Six of Cups. Look at that. Cool. Now here's one that, again, if this was trimmed completely, I know that there are 7 cups there and the Sphinx is lying on 7 cups. I can see that, but I think at first glance, if you weren't careful, you might mistake that for 3 of Cups because the red stands out, but maybe that's just me. 8 cups. If any of you have the Swedish Witch Tarot and the Yolanda Tarot, I would be very interested in hearing from you about which you prefer and why, and whether you feel anything has been gained or lost since the deck was retooled as the Yolanda Tarot. A while ago, it's been on my wish list for ages, and I'm sure a while ago it was difficult to get, even as the Yolanda Tarot, because for some reason I didn't get it, unless I was just holding out for the Swedish Witch and then I've eventually given up on that. But I think there was a while when it was actually quite difficult to get hold of. Knight of Cups. And the Queen. And again, this is not the one I meant, but there's still, I think there's quite a strong Chariot vibe running through this deck. Quite a few of the cards make me think of the Chariot, and of course the Chariot is one of my birth cards. It means a lot to me. It's on my wall up there, so maybe I just see Chariots where there are none. And into the Wands. Ace of Wands. Two of Wands. I'm moving a bit faster now because I don't want this to be too long of videos. Four of Wands. Five of Wands. There's a 6. And here's the 8. Now this is a lovely 8 of Wands. I've only just noticed that the windmill is sitting on a hill of rats. That's interesting. I hadn't twigged that before. What do I like about this? What I like about it is in some decks you have the 8 wands, they appear anyway to me to be flying up into the air, and in some decks they seem to be plummeting down to the ground, and in various different decks the interpretation can sometimes be either upward motion, forward motion, positive motion, or it can be a fall from a great height, or it can just mean motion in any direction. And I think that that is picked up here very much. It's almost like harnessing the natural energies to make things move. Quite where the rats fit in, I'm not sure. So we need to get hold of that book. 9 of Wands. 10 of Wands, very Wicker Man. I love the courts in this deck. So there's the Page of Wands. And here is the one that I think if this was trimmed, this would work perfectly as a Chariot card. It's a charioteer with 2 different coloured beasts pulling the, obviously they're lions, I'm saying beast just because it depends on the deck that you've got, depending on what type of animal is used. And he's holding a wand. Yeah, that could be a chariot card. And you see, I don't know this deck well enough yet. If I trimmed this completely and that popped up, I might read that as the chariot. So, Queen of Wands. I don't know if this is the case, but I have a feeling that this is based on Yolanda, on Rosie Bjorkman. Partly because it's what's on the cover of the box, and just because, I don't know, it makes me think of her, if you've seen pictures of her. King of Wands. And finally onto the Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles. More of those funny little creatures at the bottom. I love them, great. I wonder if they're undines. Aren't they the creatures that relate to the earth element? Undines? They're like kind of little dwarf things. Am I getting that right? There's salamanders for fire. Is it zephyrs for air? Sprites for water or something like that? I can't remember. I think they might be undines or undines. 3 Pentacles. I need to read up on my ceremonial magic. I'm not really into ceremonial magic, but I know that there's quite a lot of information about such things in that. 4 Pentacles. Ah, did you notice they were out of order? So that was the 3, that's the 4, that's the 5. I don't know why they were out of order. 6 of Pentacles. 7. 8. 9. 10. I nearly said 11. Page. I don't believe it. Knight. That's another almost chariot image. I'm not complaining. I just think it's amusing. Queen. And now that to me is also very Thothy. I know this isn't the Queen, but you know, in the Thoth deck there's also a lot of or is that the Queen? There are lots of horned images in the courts. No, that was the Princess of Discs. Yeah, there's the Queen. I'm not going to get that to the deck. That's the Queen of Discs in the Thoth. So, you know, that kind of horned image. More Thothy than Rider-Waity to me. Oh, there's the King. King of Pentacles. So that is the Yolanda Tarot. And if I hear more, if I do get a reply from Rosie Bjorkman about the book in English, then I'll let you know. And as I say, if you have got experience of this deck, if you've worked with this deck, or if you have a copy of the elusive Swedish Witch Tarot, then I'd love to hear from you. And that is it for this video. What I might do if I've got some time is I might see if I can fit in a couple of VRs to some of the amazing tags that are going around just now. There's some really good ones out there. So I'll have a look at doing that. And until next time, take care everyone. I'll see you very soon.